And good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. What we got? 21st of February. Crikey, February's nearly gone and out of the way. As you can see, we're joined. We've got loads of people there. So we've got George Jones, Tom Large making his debut. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, guys.
Anne-Marie, as usual. And also we're joined by George Dobson and Alice Woodyard. Guys, thank you very much for joining us on this Sunday evening.
No problem.
No worries. Mate. Thanks for having us.
No problem at all. So we've got a packed show today. So we've got George and Alex. We will be doing an interview. We've got Dave Anderson joining us probably around about 8:15ish. Talking about non-league, what's obviously happening with that, and impacts of obviously we sent some loanees out and stuff like that. So just really what's happening in the non-league setup. And then to finish off, we'll be doing preview on the next couple of games, and then also any questions. So any questions you've got, feel free. Chuck them my way, and we will ask them to whoever they ask to. So, Anne-Marie, I'll leave it to it.
Super. So obviously you said it's Tom's debut tonight, but it's actually Mr. Dobson's debut as well, because Alex has joined us before a few Fridays ago, wasn't it? So yeah, welcome. It really, obviously wasn't the easiest day at the office yesterday, but yeah, what are your sort of initial thoughts now you've had a bit of time today to kind of reflect on it? Did you have a training session this morning?
No, so we was off today. Obviously with the hectic schedule we've got coming up after all the games, it's obviously just all about recovery, getting ready for the next fixture. But honestly, obviously you're going to a team who are second in the league, who've got some very good players, but first half, I honestly thought we were the better team. We played some really good stuff. Looked threatening, looked like we could score, and didn't really look like conceding. But when you then come out and concede 2 goals in 3 minutes, there's just no hiding behind that, really. You just, if you're going to win football matches, if you're not going to lose football matches, you just can't do that. So we know that's not good enough, and that's obviously, like, I've only been here a month, but that's happened in the MK game and in that game where we've conceded 1 goal and then have conceded straight after. So that's something that I think we've really got to, as a collective, try and sort out the passage, literally the first few minutes, because obviously you're going to concede goals. How we react after it, I think that's the biggest thing I'd take out the game. But no, there was a lot of positives, and we'll reflect on it tomorrow and go through it, and hopefully learn. And obviously it's massive week coming up, and we need to get some points, so we'll be working towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, that the first half, I think everyone will agree it was there was a lot of quality out there. And do you think sometimes when you start getting that good momentum and then you have the halftime break, that you can lose that momentum? What do you think was different from the first half, second half? Do you think it was just tired legs on that pitch?
So, well, they changed the way they played. So they obviously set up with the 3 at the back and then changed to the 4 in this. I think they did it with like 5 or 10 to go at the start of the first half, and then into the second half, and then went with wide players. And I just don't think we adapted well enough to that. And then, as I just said about the reaction to then conceding the first goal, which we do just seem to concede goals that are avoidable, and that's just what we've got. We've just got to be better at. Like, there's no beating around the bush sort of thing. We have got to be better with certain things, but it is a really good group of lads, like, since I've been here, and I genuinely think we've got a lot in the change room to be able to turn it around and really climb the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously yesterday, Alex, you were skipper. So when did you find out that was going to be the case, and sort of how did that role feel yesterday? It must have been.
Just found out in the morning. Obviously, it was a real privilege for myself to captain the side. Something that I've done on a few occasions. I've been captain at previous clubs. So yeah, I enjoy it. it's something. It excites me being the captain. But like George said, we got a lot of good lads in the group, and I don't think it's just the captain means just one person. It's a collective. Everyone, needs to be leaders and be accountable.
Have you done that role at other clubs? Have you been captain at any of your other clubs before?
Yes, I was captain at Peterborough, captain at Lincoln, and I think I've been captain quite a few times. And George was also captain at Walsall, wasn't you, George?
Yeah.
We definitely have got some good leaders in the group, and like George said, there's enough character in the group, and with Robbo and all the guys on board now, there's a lot of good things happening, and we definitely can turn this round.
Just a quick question for George. Obviously, you mentioned about him being captain at Walsall. Obviously, you were quite a young captain. What did that mean to you, obviously, being picked to be captain?
Well, I think I was 19 or 20 first time, so it was really young. It was maybe in a way I think I was probably too young. Like when you've got 27, 28-year-olds who are full grown men, and you're still a boy, like, and you're trying to, in a way, lead them on the pitch. But I think at that time I was more of a captain in terms of the way I played and tried to lead by example. But nothing, like, it was just a unbelievable feeling, like, to players are still playing under 23s football, and I'm like leading out a team of first team players in League One football. So it was I loved it, to be fair, and it was personally a great achievement for me.
And obviously, George, you come down to join us down at Wimbledon from Sunderland, and you were saying, that you've all got to be leaders, and there's some brilliant characters in the group. How do you feel you've settled in? Are you enjoying it over the last? Obviously, it's not the easiest time, playing position wise. But are you enjoying your time at Wimbledon as much as you can be? Yeah,
no, I honestly am. Like, just to be playing football again. So, like, obviously with coronavirus obviously happening, and then when I went back to Sunderland in the summer, I didn't play much football between now and January. So just to be able to get back out there and get some games under my belt, I'm really enjoying that. And no, the boys are honestly good. I know, like, everyone says it wherever you go, but like, the boys are good. They honestly are. They've made me feel really welcome. And I feel settled already. So when you go on loan, that's all you want after a couple of weeks, to feel like you're a part of the team. So now I'm just enjoying it and looking forward for the rest of the season.
Amazing. And I know we spoke a little bit about this before we went live, and obviously I'm sure lots of fans were talking about it yesterday. You can't really avoid not talking about the pitch yesterday. As midfielders, would you say that probably impacts you the most in that type of playing position, because that's where the bulk of the creative play happens? I mean, Alex, you were saying you've played on that pitch for Peterborough before. It's not normally like that, but do you think it had a big impact on how we played yesterday?
No, I don't think so. I think I'd say probably the way me and Dobbo like to play. I think we sort of looked at that pitch and probably got excited by it, because it meant we could probably, they're good players, and just with a bubbly pitch, this gives you more opportunity to take the ball off them. So I think you can't go into any game, looking at a pitch, because it's the same for both sides. Yeah, they've played on it more, but the way that, like Dobbo said, I don't think it really it hindered us in the first half. So it's just got to get on with it. I think we've all played on bad pitches in the past, so it's just another day.
And how have you both been finding sort of training under the new manager? Has it changed a lot? Has it changed day to day? Has match day routine kind of been different?
Well, Woody's obviously been here longer than me. I only had a brief spell under the old gaffer, but from what the boys have been saying and from what I've saw briefly, I definitely think the intensity of training has been a lot higher, and I think that can only stand you in good stead if you're training at a high intensity. Then after a while, you'll then start playing at a higher intensity. So in that aspect, I definitely think Robbo's brought a fresher impetus to the squad in that sort of way, and it's been good. I've enjoyed it, but obviously, yeah, as I was saying, Woody probably better to answer that question than me.
Yeah, he's obviously Robbo's brought some fantastic ideas to the group. You can see all the lads are buying into it in training, but with the ideas Robbo's bringing in and trying to implement, it's not going to be a quick fix. It's going to take time. There's a lot of there's a process behind it. So I think every day in training we're improving. We're all buying into what Robbo wants to do, and I'm sure as the games come on, it will start to come out more, and you'll start to see the style of play, and it's exciting. I think after yesterday, after it was a losing, but I woke up this morning excited about the week, and I'm excited about going into the game on Tuesday. And I think I speak for all the lads.
I think that actually reflects a lot of what the fans are feeling as well. I know I did, and obviously it wasn't the result we wanted yesterday, but I still feel optimistic about the rest of the season. Like you said, it's that long-term vision and the different processes that need to happen. And I just wonder if that is the high intensity training to kind of prepare for the fact we've got such a heavy run in of matches. Is that, or
I'll probably just say, obviously, I think the style of Robbo wants to play is a sort of a high intensity, a higher press. So I think the training's probably more higher intensity to get us used to the style of play rather than the run of games, because we have a big squad. So I think the squad can be used in those games. So it's just getting everyone up to the levels and the intensity we have to play at.
On the topic of training, obviously, Robbo said in his interviews that he took you guys out in the snow. How refreshing was that, obviously? Because I know most teams don't offer that to their players. It's usually, have a snow day and take the precautions.
We probably couldn't get as much detail, but obviously, like you just said, a lot of teams would have probably just sacked training off. But we trained, and training in the snow, although it probably wasn't the best, the best quality of session, it brought all the lads together because we were still training. It was fun, and yeah, it was actually a good day, and we could have sacked training off that day and not got nothing out of it, but we got something out of it. The boys enjoyed it, and that's why you train because it's fun, and yeah, it was a good day.
Oh, Stu, you're on mute.
Oh, technology. Yeah, George, you were saying earlier, obviously, that you liked, settling in and stuff like that when you move on loan. So obviously it's been quite challenging, obviously brought in by Glyn and now under Robbo. How have you found that? Because obviously sometimes when you come on loan, you come on loan obviously for a manager who likes and wants you and stuff like that. Was that unsettling, or was that no problem at all?
Nah, I just feel it's part and parcel of football is a game where you just got to expect everything, really. Like, it's just the way it is. The game changes so quickly, and the way it is with managers in football nowadays, you've just got to be prepared for the unknown. And obviously, after 1 week, it is a bit of a different challenge. Like, you're coming in for one manager, and then literally a week later, you've got a new one. But I've personally found it okay. I'm from down this way, so it's nice to be back home, seeing the family, like which I haven't really done in the last 18 months. For me, like, obviously the whole manager situation. I didn't think too much into it. I'm just coming here to try and help the team, enjoy my football, and I feel like with Robbo, he's really put a good fresh stamp onto like training and just the way we're playing. I think like even if you look at the game yesterday, I think just the way we tried to play in the first half, like we looked to get on the ball and play through the thirds a lot more than instead of maybe going that bit longer. So no, a lot of positive signs, and now that it didn't unsettle me too much, the manager change.
Just quickly, when Marie comes in, sorry, Marie, I was just going to say, you touched on it. I was going to ask you about that because obviously Sunderland, is quite a distance, obviously, from the outside of it.
Yeah.
So, were you staying up? Were you sort of like went up in Sunderland, and what are you? Because obviously, I know we've had some players that have moved down. I know Connell when he's at Birmingham and sort of trying to settle. So, has that been difficult for you? Because of course, that makes a big difference in terms of settling is where you're staying and also, the club you're at.
Yeah. So like. When I was up at Sunderland, I was living in Durham, which was like 4.5 hours away from where I live. So, yeah, long way from home. But that's just I've played abroad, so like I'm used to the moving around. But no, like for Wimbledon, I'm living at home, so it's been to be fair, it's the first time in my career where I've been back home, so it's actually been a pleasant surprise, like really to just to spend a bit of time with the family as well. So no, it's been nice.
I was just going to ask, actually, now I must confess, listening to Robbo's interviews, I don't think I'd ever really appreciated the difference between a head coach and a manager. And he's discussed that and talked about how he feels he's more of the head coach role. Do you think, both of you, that's kind of the way that football will go, or it just kind of really depends on personalities and just really sort of if you have a preference for what kind of leadership you work under, I guess?
I think it's the way football's going now, isn't it? I think I'm not too sure how it works here, so I don't want to comment on it. But reading about other clubs, you see the club sign the players and the managers just there to coach. I'm guessing because obviously in football now there's a lot of turnaround of managers, and I suppose the club want to protect the assets and sign the players they want. So, like I said, I don't know if that's the situation here, but it's probably the way football and the way it looks. That's the way football's going.
Yeah, and he's sort of, from his point of view, saying it means he gets to be out more on the pitch with you guys, which should hopefully make a big difference over the next few weeks. And actually, something, George, you just mentioned there, just popped into my head. Obviously, Sharon Harrison played in Holland as well. You played at Sparta Rotterdam, is that right?
Yeah.
How was that experience for you? Have you spoken to him about his time out there? And
yes, he's like Shay was saying, he's played in Holland, he played in Australia as well, so he's been all around. But now Holland was like a completely different experience. Like it's just a completely different way of life, really. Like, more of a life experience than a football experience, I'd say. Just moving to a different country, learning a different culture, and just playing against like teams like Ajax, PSV, like they're massive clubs. So it was a real enjoyable experience, and I learned a lot. It didn't go great for me personally, but them 6 months when I was out there, I probably learned more then than I have like so far in my career. So no, I really enjoyed it. The whole process of it, but it just wasn't quite for me. But that's what happens sometimes. I just it was something I wanted to try when I got offered the opportunity, but it just didn't quite work out. So I ended up coming back.
Alex, very quick. I've seen noticing about training, and George was saying about playing between the lines and stuff like that, which I think was really noticeable yesterday. Robbo, I've seen Robbo, academy manager. I've been lucky enough to see under 18s and see what he does. He's sort of saying that he's giving both you guys and the team more of an input as to what you want to do. How does that work, Alex, on the training pitch? So is it a case that you can sort of ask why we're doing certain things, or can you do certain things in the situation? What's it been like?
Yeah, it's been great. I think Robbo's very open-minded. Like he always says, like we're always in it together. No one's right. We all need to be comfortable in the way we want to play. Obviously, he gives us the direction and the tools to go out and play. But yeah, he's just open-minded. Great to work for, and yeah, it just gives you the freedom to go and express yourself and enjoy yourself, really.
And it's a change of formation as well, isn't it? So obviously we've done a 3-5-2. It looked like I played 2 holding midfielders yesterday. If I think I've got the tactics right on that sort of side of it. How have you found that, Alex, in terms of obviously having someone else in there to sort of do the holding role and do the ugly side of the game, that sort of thing?
It's probably the formation we played yesterday is probably what I'm used to. I played probably my whole career in that formation, in that role. I think it suits me more as a player, playing more centrally. I enjoy it more, and I think when you're in there as a two with Dobbo, I think you can kind of work off each other, and yeah, it's just more enjoyable, and like with sort of the new style, I think everyone's buying into it and everyone's excited, but at the same time, we've got a lot to learn. Like I said, it's not a quick fix. If we can pick up results on the way, which obviously I know we need to, that's great. But it's a process, and I think we've definitely got more than enough in this group to kick on. And don't like talking about staying safe. We need to look further forward than that, and it's going well. Like I said, I'm excited. All the lads are excited. We go again on Tuesday.
So I know obviously we spoke before, and I've had a bit of a laugh, obviously, with the 5 bookings and stuff you got on that. I saw that pitch yesterday, and I thought you must have been rubbing your hands yesterday on that side of it.
I just thought I let Dobbo get booked instead.
I was going to say, because obviously, George, you'd have a challenge as well on that sort of side of it. So is it just taking turns?
Yeah. To be fair, I once, I think last season I was on 9 bookings for about 10 or 11 games, I think it was, and ended up not getting booked, but just got dropped instead. But I don't mind the tackle. So, well, I know Woody does as well from playing against him.
Just going back to a point that Stuart made about a few minutes ago about training. In an interview I did with Robbo, he said that he wants to play more attacking, fluid football, stuff that's interesting to watch. How has that kind of affected the team morale, the training camp?
I think it's been good. I think you look at our players, like we've got players who have got creativity, who have got flair. Like you look at Chiz, you look at Rudy, like they're players who can make things happen. So by them being more fluid and being able to try different things, I think over time things will pay off for them. So no, I definitely think like especially what we was talking about with the change in formation, if you are playing like the 4-2-3-1, you're getting 4 attacking players on the pitch as well. So it does give you more of a threat, and then it's just for us to be able to start taking more chances and scoring more goals, because that's obviously been a bit of a problem. But if like at the Wigan game, how we played at Wigan and how we played the first half yesterday, if we can turn them performances into like instead of for 45 minutes, turn them into 90-minute performances, that's when we can really start to kick on and make strides, I think.
Yeah, and obviously we've had a few away games now, so you guys have been on the road, and now as we look to this week, 2 home games at Plough Lane. How is that for you guys playing at Plough Lane? Does it mean much to you guys? Obviously, I know you've only new to Wimbledon, but does Robbo instill that in you guys?
Yeah, definitely. Like Robbo's so passionate about literally everybody at the club. Like not even just the players, like the fans, like the way he talks about the fans. He's honestly, just he cares for everybody at the football club. So no, I've only played there once, but it's like the stadium's fantastic, the pitch is brilliant, and no, I really enjoyed playing there, because obviously with the way we're looking to now play, the pitch being good obviously helps. Like if you're playing on a better pitch, it's obviously easier to play better football. So now we've obviously got 2 home games this week, and hopefully we can really start to utilise the pitch and the stadium and try and turn Plough Lane into a fortress, really.
Just to say, Alex, obviously, form-wise at Plough Lane has been disappointing. I think we lost the last 5, although we've had some tough games, Sunderland and Lincoln, to say that. How difficult is it? Because obviously it's a decent size. It's nothing like what George is like used to up at the Stadium of Light, but it's a decent stadium. I mean, well, it's more than a decent stadium. It's a great stadium in terms of Plough Lane. Has it been difficult though with the fans and stuff like that? Because I know fans being in there trying to make that a fortress, but it's not. I can't imagine that's easy when there's just no one there.
Yeah, no, definitely, it is tough, because it's almost like just you're playing in an empty stadium, or it is. You're playing in an empty stadium. It's like a shell at the minute. It's a great stadium. We've all said it's a fantastic facility, but it's kind of nice in opposition at the minute. Like they're turning up at a brand new stadium, lovely pitch. We've got to turn that into like a fortress. We've got to make sure that clubs are coming to Wimbledon and they're in for a fight. There's going to be a tough game. They're getting off that coach and feeling, we don't fancy this today. So that's down to the players to make that happen. But of course, and I've said it on this show a million times, it'd be great when we can get the fans back in the stadium.
Definitely, and also the way we're playing, I noticed the way we're playing between the lines and stuff like that. The pitch is going to be really handy for that, isn't it, George, on that sort of side of it? Is it the plan to probably train on that as much as we can to make sure we can get, because a new ground is always going to be difficult in terms of just getting used to it. Do you think you're going to be training on it quite a bit to make sure you can utilise it as much as possible, George?
I don't know. We did train on it once last week, but I don't know what the plan is with training on it going forward. One of the pitches we've got at the training ground is good, and I think it's similar in quality to what the stadium pitch is. And obviously you don't want to ruin the stadium pitch too much during the week for the match day. So I don't know. I can't really comment on it because I don't know what the plan will be with that.
What's the plan? Do you know what the plan for training is this week? So is it Monday in terms of, I'm assuming you might be looking at the game if you want to look at the game. Do you know what a rest time and that? Because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be important that you rest up, because the game, I think we've got the next 5 weeks, we've got Saturday, Tuesday. It's going to put a lot of demand on people, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously we'll be in tomorrow and we'll reflect on the game yesterday, and then turn our attention straight away to the Gillingham game, and then train towards that, focus on that, and look to get the right result on Tuesday, and then it will just be the same. It will be recovery towards, and then focusing on the next game, because obviously when you're in such short times between each fixture, it's literally about recovery, really.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us on a Sunday evening. Really appreciate that. Let's hope, obviously, potential for the roadmap tomorrow. So hopefully we might see a roadmap of us finally returning to Plough Lane. It'd be great to join you all before the end of the season, definitely. But yeah, we just want to wish you the best of luck for Tuesday, for Saturday, for Tuesday, for Saturday, for Tuesday, for Saturday, and we'll just go all the way through on that on that side. So yeah, good luck, guys, and we appreciate you joining us.
Appreciate it. Nice one.
Thanks
Take
for having
care.
me. Cheers.
Stu, did you want us to stay on, or?
No, you're free. You're free to go and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Nice one.
Guys, thank you very much.
Yes, guys.
Thanks, George. Take care.
Cheers. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
the beauty of doing live TV. I think they're enjoying it so much they're going to stay.
They've got Robbo's 5 a.m. club, haven't they?
Yeah.
That's how it is. How it is. Do you know what? It's funny actually, because I do chuckle because I do love winding Alex up about his bookings. I think every time I've seen him. But then, like I say, George Dobson does like a challenge as well, doesn't he? He likes to tackle.
They're a good partner.
I think with those in the middle, we're not going to be winning a fair play league anytime soon. Which is really nice to see.
We were second on the fair play league. I hate being second on the fair play league. I really do. That's not something you want to win, really. Although years ago, didn't they? It used to be I'm showing my age here, but Intertoto Cup used to be based on the fair play league would be an entry. I know Anne-Marie's looking at me going like, "What the hell am I talking about?" Intertoto. Those were days.
I remember it. And I was going to say, actually, as a ref, often the players that you're booking for foul challenges are usually the nicest lads. They're just the most passionate and just love football and want to get into it. It's the ones you book for dissent which are a pain. But if you're not on a few bookings as a midfielder, then you're probably not quite getting it right. But no, I think they're good lads, and I think that they'll be key over the next few weeks for sure.
Definitely. So we're just waiting for Dave Anderson to join us, and then we'll talk a little bit. Dave has asked me not to ask anything about Wimbledon because, well, not anything about Wimbledon, but nothing about the current team because he hasn't seen much. Well, no one's seen much from him, to be fair, on that sort of side. But we're going to talk to him about the non-league and stuff like that. But Tom, did you take anything away from that? George, to be fair, George Dobson, you can see why he's captain at such an early age, can't you, at Walsall?
Yeah, I think he's kind of got those leadership traits already, and you could see from the way he was talking, he knew what he was talking about, and especially when it came down to training and that kind of stuff, he seemed to be really switched on. So I imagine the feedback he gives must be quite positive for the team and help build sessions, and even at a young age. I think he's only 23. So I think he's probably a vital part of the team, even though he's only been here for a few weeks.
Yeah, I do like him. I must admit, I think he's a very good player. And I was a little. Dave's just joining us now. I was a little bit happier when he said he was living at home and it's the first time he lived from home and he's enjoying it. Because I'm thinking, let's talk to George during the summer.
It could be a permanent deal on the way, hopefully.
That's a happy player with a good player, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I was very close to asking that, but I didn't want to push our luck. Was you doing anything as of August? I
think his connection might have gone at that time, mightn't it, on that sort of side of it. But yeah, I was very much thinking, if he's happy. And do you know what? It can't be fun living away. Especially if you can't understand what they're talking up that way, can you? Do you know what I mean? So he's probably enjoyed coming down here and being able to understand the lingo, I would have thought.
Probably understands the Dutch better than the sort of Geordie.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom, you were going to say?
I say at a young age, kind of living away from home must be quite difficult.
Yeah.
No, he's 19. He was at Walsall, wasn't he? If you say he lives around here,
yeah. And do you know what? Definitely, I think we've all learned this pandemic or realised that family's quite important, family and friends. So, if I was Robbo, and Robbo, when I think Robbo might be tempted, I'm sure he's not stupid, but, a happy player is always a good player, isn't it? So, Okay, so Dave Anderson is with us. So let's get Dave Anderson to join us. Zoom. Dave, how are you?
I think I'm okay. I'm a dinosaur with this stuff, but how are you okay?
We're good. Yeah, live stuff is always quite fun in terms of that side of it. So thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate that.
Well, I have to tell you, make it more than you're thinking. I've had a couple of beers.
Even better.
I'm very experienced, so don't worry.
We've just been joined by two women players, George Dobson and Alex Woodyard, after I had a defeat at Peterborough yesterday. We're just talking about empty stadiums and stuff like that. It's a crazy one, isn't it? How have you found it? So I'm guessing in the first sort of lockdown, you have been able to go to some games in a non-league because you obviously like going. Were you getting to games?
Yeah, I'm fortunate, Stu, because I carry a media stuff because of the non-league football show and the podcast and that. So effectively, I can get into games sort of blacking my way with that. So I've been to a few, the best one. I actually said to Jason Goodliff, as well, played for the club. Jason was my assistant at Harrow, and I went and watched Wilston against Sutton, because Jason's the assistant manager with Matt Gray at Sutton. And I was talking to him afterwards. We went in, had a quick beer, and I had to interview Matt, I think, that's how I get in, that sort of stuff. But I was saying that I was having a beer with Dean Brannan, again, another ex-player.
Yeah.
And I said, how are you getting on with the empty stadiums? And Goodliff said to me, he says, I was your assistant manager at Harrow. I'm used to empty stadiums. So it wasn't, so it's not a big, it's a funny thing. I think it's a thing that when you've been used to having a full stadium, which the club does, Wimbledon does, then it's, it would take a while, but and the guys are on, and but players adapt quickly to stuff, Stuart. They adapt the accents and different managers, and they can adapt to stadiums being full or empty really quickly, So I found it okay, actually, because as a manager, I was talking to the guys, as a manager, as many times I'd have liked the stadium to be empty so you don't get any abuse, but we know that Jack Stein said, football without fans is nothing, and I think it's been proven, So there's a long answer to a short question.
No, it's a good answer. Well, if you look at TV football on TV nowadays, you can hear what everyone's saying, which is good or bad. And how would you have dealt with that if at Kings Meadow there was no fans on there?
Yeah, but it cost me a few quid in the swear box. I don't know. I think look, it's like anything. We've all got egos, and to have your team play in front of a full house. It's different for the club now, because the club's used the sort of 5, 6, whatever thousand that is in the ground. But when I was managing the club, the average gate was 300, 400 in that division, and we were playing in front of 3,500. So it was very, very different for every team that came to play you. Listen, you'd have to be stupid if you said you enjoyed an empty Moors full, even when you're getting abuse. It's it changes games. Supporters change games. They change the mood in games. They change the drive of the teams with the ball. The only thing I would say is that it's the same for both sides empty. So that'll bring on different sort of questions. But full all the time, I think. But like the glass, it's better to be full than empty, isn't it?
So obviously Plough Lane is now, we officially got the keys the other week, which was nice. What have you seen? You must have seen it on TV in the pictures. What's your thoughts about the ground?
I was fortunate that we did some filming. I don't even know what it was for, but with Ivor, and Ivor showed me around the ground. It was with a film crew. So I got to see it, all of it. In fact, the team were training on the pitch. Glenn Hodges, when Glenn Hodges was manager, I spoke to Robbo, Robin, Bays. I spoke to a few of the guys I know, and it's a changed environment. I don't know lots of people now, obviously, but it's just what I said to the guys is that I won't go back until it's full. I won't go back until supporters are allowed in, because it's an emotional thing to go in and see it. It really, I don't mean that lightheartedly, and I don't need anybody. I don't need anything off the club. I've had enough. I just mean it honestly. It's an emotional. God knows what it means to the likes of you, but for me, who sort of passed through the place, to go in and see this, it's an unbelievable stadium. Yeah. It's unbelievable what the club have done, outside it. So I've been fortunate to do that, and lots of people who deserve to have seen it, much more than I haven't. So I'm aware of that. But the next time, I think I've sorted out with the guys that do the radio that the first home game where there's the supporters allowed back in, I'm going to go and sort of do the punditry for it. That was the deal I had.
That'd be great. Well, we're doing a back to Plough Lane. So we've been fortunate enough to be at a few games. We haven't been since December. And I'm like you in a way. It's quite emotional. And I can understand that, because, you played a part in getting us there. That's the result of everyone's hard work, isn't it? That sort of side of it. And I was quite emotional when I saw it, because it's in Wimbledon and it's basically ours on that side of it. So yeah, it'd be great. It would be great. But I think you're right. You know, when it is full, I don't know. When I was there, I was saying to George and Anne-Marie, I kept daydreaming and kept looking at certain places, thinking that'd be great if it was full. I think I missed a Crawley goal against us because I was too busy looking at the scoreboard area. But I literally went into daydream to thinking how mad it will be when that, because we were fortunate enough to go, but it's still an empty stadium. But I did daydream of thinking it will be an unbelievable atmosphere when everybody's in there.
Yeah, and I think it's one of them, Stuart, that and listen, we'll let someone else get a word in soon.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Apologize, guys. You know, but I think that it's one of them sort of things that when you're around the club, which you still are, and the guys like Tom and Stuart and Anne-Marie, you know, who still are about the club and are following the journey. I've been away from it for a while, you know, and as much as I keep a tab on results, I still speak regular to Bass, Terry Brown, the people of that Caishi and that. I still speak to people. I've been away from it. So to walk back in. So when I walk in, I get hit by the driving into Kings Meadow and saying, next home game, Chipstead. You know, that's what comes back into my head, you know, next home game, Chipstead. And I'm not even sure the club had bought Kings Meadow when I went in. Maybe they had, but, you know, and then you walk into this thing it was sort of 9/10 done. And you go, and I remember the pitch at Kings Meadow was a quagmire the first year I was there. Well, that's my excuse for the football we played anyway, but, and then you see this sort of Rolls Royce. It's so I see it differently than you see it. You know, it's a bit like, listen, you're probably looking at me next year and going, he's good old, because you ain't seen me for a while. Do you know what I mean? So when you go and see the stadium and you see where the club is now, having done other things since I left, it really hits you. It's a real sort of dig in the jaw, you know, in a good way.
Yeah, and you know, exactly what you've just said in terms of you go away for a couple of years at a time if you've not been there, and so much has changed. And actually, I met you before, Dave, when I was probably much younger, and it was the day that we'd secured promotion from Ryman 1. And I vividly remember waiting to speak to you coming out the President's Lounge, and I said congratulations to you, and you said congratulations, this is your day, you know, this is your big moment. And you know, at the time that felt like huge. We've won, right? You know, we're going out of Ryman 1, and now we're in League One. And so, like you said, it really puts it into perspective. So when Stu said you were on the show, like it's crazy where the club has been, and I think it's absolutely right that when you get there, that you deserve to feel that emotion and that credit for the part that you played. Because I certainly enjoyed my teenage years watching us play teams like Chipstead.
Yeah, you must have been 5.
No,
it
was an impressionable teenager.
No, but listen, and I think that, and I don't want to sound like the hero here. It's not what I want to be, or the oh, he's so nice, and I'm not. You know, you've been around me, but I genuinely mean that. What I mean by it is that people will portray my part of the journey, and Terry Brown's part of the journey, and Arge is part of the journey, and the guys, Bass and people like that, much more than they'll portray, like, say, yourself or Stu or Trevor, the secretary, you know, or Dave Charles, but I don't. I think we're all part of it. I think we're all equal parts of it, and so I think that's where my emotion comes from. It's not a personal emotion. You know, I didn't support Wimbledon as a kid. You know, it didn't. You know, it's a club. I've moved on and managed other clubs afterwards. I managed clubs before it. So my emotions around the people who did it, you know, and what they've did, I think, you know. So, but I'm surprised I was sober enough to talk to you that day. I'm really pleased about that, to be honest.
I think I was probably holding my dad up. He was probably shared a beer with him.
They're great days, you know. Days like that are great days, and you know, I'm fortunate that when I think back to the club, we'd a few of them, you know, and I always say to Brownie, You know, like every time we talk about, and I knew Terry a long time before we both went to the club. And I always said to Brownie, you know, if we ever go back, Brownie, I want us to go onto the pitch together, you know, because then it will say there was 4 promotions, you know, or whatever, you know, because Brownie, I think, had 3, didn't he? So I always wanted to go as a joint, you know, but he would never have, never got enough money to buy him off, you know.
And obviously, you know, the situation with you know, league football and non-league football, it's an interesting time at the moment. And I have listened to your shows recently. I know Stu mentioned last weekend about I think we've loaned out a couple of players to non-league clubs. Do you think that there will be more of an important role than ever between how league clubs support non-league clubs, and actually it's kind of like a mutual beneficial relationship? You know, both levels can benefit from it if it works out well.
Yeah, I've never, to be fair, I've never thought that anyone coming from a league club to a non-league club on loan has ever been a negative. I've never spoke to a player, and I've had a few of them. You know, Shazy, as you know, I sold him to Wimbledon. You know, got him from Arsenal. I've had Nicky Pope, who's now I think he's going to be England's next goalkeeper. And I've had others. You know, I've never ever had a player in my whole time in football that said to me, "Yeah, it was a waste of time going to non-league, you know, out of the pro game." I think it's benefited them all. I think, and it's probably the dinosaur in me, you know, now that there isn't a reserve team at pro level, where you get to play with some of the senior pros who are coming back from injury or suspension to earn your spurs and to give you a little bit of knowledge of what they expect at their level. I think non-league can give you that. It puts you into an environment where listen, it's a lovely game, but winning is what we're about. And I think when you go from a league club, as I'm going to say, an under 23 or a squad player, into a non-league club, and you're playing and it's real, it only benefits players. And you know, for me, I've never, and this is nothing to do with FC Wimbledon, it's just my view of the whole thing. I'm not sure that under 23s work playing against under 23s. I think that once you go into the big game, you're up against people who are bigger, older, stronger, more experienced, and I think you need to be pitched against them as many times as you can be, you know. So, but I do think that non-league gains a lot from having the lads from pro. But you're right in what you say; it's a two-way street.
So obviously, non-league at the moment is a challenging situation, to say the least. I always keep an eye on it, because you never forget where you come from. Non-league, I've been to so many lovely places that I would never forget that. And also because, you know, League One and League Two isn't immune to COVID and the pandemic and the economy. Non-league this week, it's been every day, Dave. You trying to keep up with it, but they've also had the vote now, haven't they? So the National League will continue, although we've got teams like Dover who can't afford to. I think I was listening that they've been funded again by shareholders this season to keep going, and they won't put any more money in. King's Lynn are the same. What are your views on that? Because I'll be truthful. You know, I've said on this program before, I didn't see how we started when we had no money coming in. It seems crazy when you're spending money when you've got nothing coming through the gate. National League is the same. Do you think that season will finish with them, even with the help of the government that's coming in at the moment?
Yeah, I think you've asked me about 17 questions.
Yeah, sorry, Dave. Yeah, sorry.
I'll do my best. I know. I think in all honesty, it's like anything. Look, the starting point where the atom was split, if you like, in this game, is that there was a meeting between the Football League, the conference, or the national as it's called now, but the national conference, and the government, the DCMS or the DMC. I can never get the sort of letters in the right way, but they had a meeting. I think that the people I speak to in the conference and all right, I'm not going to keep going. It's the national, you know what I mean. So the people I spoke to in the national, managers, chairman, people like that I do for my show, they were all, and I actually spoke to two different chairman who are on the league board in confidence, and they and listen, I respect that they spoke to me off the record, and they said, "Listen, Dave, we would never ever have started the season if we thought that we're going to get funding for 3 months. We just wouldn't have. Why would you? You know." And at that time, when I spoke to one of them, I'm going to say it's the best part of 4 or 5 weeks ago, he said, "Look, the government did a U-turn. The government promised us funding. I think the first level of funding was lottery money. And I say I think because I don't want to be liable, but the first part was lottery money. And then I think everyone gambled that we would all have spectators back in the ground, you know, not just at our level, but obviously at the league level. And then the second lockdown, the third lockdowns came in, and it became what it is today. So the government had said that they would be given grants, but no one took minutes of the meeting. Now, that's the big thing for me. That's people talk about conspiracy theories, and I laugh at. Listen, I'll listen to every conspiracy theory, but in all honesty, I can't spell conspiracy, so I'm never ever going to go down that road. So, but everyone I spoke to says, and if you think about it, why would you start a season if you thought you were getting funded for 3 months? They absolutely believed that the government were going to fund the whole season if they didn't get back in. Now,
we're waiting for Dave to come back in. Technology is always, isn't
it? That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure that's what I was told. Can you hear me? Hello?
I think you've just cut out on us, Dave. I think you're just coming back in now, I think.
Stu, you all right?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you. I think you got a little bit. Yeah, here we are.
Okay. It must be something to do. Maybe you're... Hello? Yeah, you've gone all fun.
the live TV on side of it.
You hear me, guys?
Yeah, sort of in and out at the moment. I think it's coming back in, Dave.
It's probably maybe had mine already, you know. Yeah. So that's sort of where we are with it. I don't know how far down you got to my explanation, but it basically
got most of it. Yeah,
it's basically it's a mess now. Yeah, it's a mess now because what happens now is you've now got people in the north and south who want to play. You've got some people who don't want to play. And people think, well, that's messy. And I kind of be like that. I'd say, well, here's exactly what it is. If I was to turn up at 1 o'clock on a Saturday in the bar at AFC Wimbledon, and we were all to sit around a table, and I was to have a knowledge of the players that are there now, which I don't, and we all picked the team. We'd all pick a different team. We'd all argue about it. We'd all slaughter each other about it. We'd then come in at time and say, I told you I was right, you were wrong. And then at 5 o'clock, we'd all do the same again. Because that's football. We love that. That's part of what it is. It's all about my opinion against your opinion, against everybody else's opinion, and the 4 against 1 and the 1 wins. It's all that stuff. And there's a bit of that within what's going on in non-league. But what I would say, Stu, is and it's also the where it all ends. It works its way down. Elite sport works its way down to Conference South and Conference North. So it's always going to be messy. Listen, there'll be a conclusion to it. I'm not sure it'll ever end, but there'll be a conclusion. I'm not sure how much you got, but
yeah, we got most.
You're the editor. You can sort it out.
I just wonder if oh, sorry, Tom. I was just going to say, I wonder if the interference was coming from the National League trying to cut anything out being said about them. But I listened to your show the other day, Dave, and I have to admit, you sounded a bit surprised when I think Mark said that 75% of clubs have expressed an interest in taking one of the government loans. I think I was quite surprised by that as well.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why would you take? And that's what I was saying. Sorry, I was just going to say, because that's what I couldn't believe when they said it would be loans. Why would you take a loan on when you can't guarantee when your next money's going to come in? It's just surely it should be grants. It should be grants, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think that he was cute in as much as he didn't say they were taking the loans. He said they'd showed an interest. Listen, I can show an interest in a size 32 pair of jeans, but I'm never getting into them. So you have to be careful what he's saying. And we were in a situation where I desperately didn't want to get into a slagging match with him, or I wanted to ask him questions. We'd agreed, me and Tim, ask him questions, let him answer them, come back a little bit, but he come on, let him answer the questions. What he's saying is probably true. Everybody will host against that one where you are, when you're getting it, when you're not getting it. Do you understand what I mean? So I agree, Marie. Why would you? Why would you? Listen, if Eric Samuelson had anything to do with it, he wouldn't even be in the room. You know what Eric was like,
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned that there's these loans and you don't know when you're going to have to pay them back. What effect is this going to have on non-league football? Because you're going to see teams run out of money and nowhere to go. What is the state of non-league going to be in the next few years? I think we may have lost it.
Well, I think it all involves Tom and Lou.
Yeah, I think you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
You got me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
I don't know. Maybe it's my house. Maybe it is, and it's the non-league or the football league are buzzing it. But I think I think it all evolves around that first meeting. Minutes weren't taken, and they want to be a messy affair. I nearly said something else there, but it's going to be a messy affair, Tom. Non-league, I think professional football needs non-league football. I think you would understand that because the club have come out of it in recent years. But the problem is, if I pick the wrong team, which I've been known to do, I get the stick for it. Me and my staff get the stick for picking the wrong team. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they play badly, but I'll still get the stick. So for me, the finger has to be pointed straight back at the board and the government. How can you mess this up? Listen, I'm of the age now where I'm on my local golf club. I'm on the Greens Committee. You don't even need to know what that means. It's that in everybody's life. But we have minutes. And if the minutes weren't taken by the general manager, he'd be tongue drawn and quartered on the 9th green. So how can you have a meeting of this magnitude and nobody's got the minutes? So believe that's the case. Someone must.
Definitely.
It's a Zoom call like this is, and So, but it's not the way out of it. I don't have the answer. I've got plenty of questions, but I really don't have the answer.
Dave, that's been brilliant. I think obviously we've got a little bit of a signal issue. I think probably all of us, to be fair. So we're going to let you go now, Dave. We really appreciate you joining us. Really appreciate. I'm sure this will keep going and going and going. So I think watch the space, isn't it, Dave? But thank you very much, Dave. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Yeah.
The club, but all the very, very best. See you soon.
Take care, Dave. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, bye.
So I'm not too sure whether Dave's somehow fed his Wi-Fi connection the beer as well. On that, it's a shame actually, because that was quite a good conversation, wasn't it? That sounds mad. Tom, can you think of anything of no minutes? That just seems to me like amateur hour.
The thing is as well, especially such a serious topic when people's lives are at risk, like not livelihood, money, players, trying to develop, especially at a young age. Someone's got to be held accountable for, but no one can if there's no minutes. No one knows who said what. So,
I find it unbelievable. George, go on, you say.
Well, I mean, there's a very good non-league Twitter account. I'm just trying to find the name of it, but he put a freedom of information request into DCMX.
I saw that, yeah.
request this sort of the publication of these minutes that some are alleging not to exist, and they refuse to publish them, which I think genuinely implies they don't exist in the first place. Or at the very least, they contradict the government line.
What they did, you've got a right to appeal for anything. But what they said was that it would take them 3.5 days. Was that right, to find it?
The law around this issue is if it takes 3.5 days or more to find the information and publish it, then they don't have to do it, basically, because it's not worth their time. So they're saying it effectively would take them 4 days to find a document that is about 6 months old and to send it in an email, which is obviously nearly said a Dave Anderson style word there. It's obviously not using the full truth.
And I think Tom hit the nail on the head there. It's about that accountability, and whether they did or didn't write minutes. I think it's just very much a case of people are scared about, if they do have that accountability, is like people are going to start pointing fingers, who's the blame, and then also whose responsibility is it to make the really big decisions going forward, because there's going to be some massive decisions over the next couple of years, and I think people are just frightened to be the people to make it. So if there's no minutes, there's no evidence, it's hard. It is really, really hard. I just hope that people realise, what the best interest is. And I hadn't even really, to be fair, thought of that at non-league level. Yeah, it's livelihoods, isn't it? Yeah, there's so much at stake. It isn't just football, and it's not just because we're all gagging to watch football again. It's the livelihoods of these clubs. And I just hope people make sensible decisions. And, I'm a huge Dave Anderson fan. I went up to Wembley to watch the FA Vase final when he was managing Chertsey, and he had his Wimbledon shirt on underneath. And I think it's really great you've got people like Dave who's so passionate on shows like the non-league show. It's definitely worth tuning in. They talk about some, very honestly, and they get some guests on there who get grilled from the Football Association. I think that's possibly what's needed at the moment.
I also think it's important to add, with people like Dave who really care about non-league, you need these kind of people on the boards, really wanting to make sure the non-league grows, because a lot of English players come through the system. You see the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think it was, and Ollie Watkins both played non-league football when they were younger. And I think it's so important in keeping the English game strong and, making sure the World Cup attempts are as strong as possible.
Yeah, and do you know what? I've got lots of questions, and I was going to be fair, I could be there all night, Dave. I don't think you'd even know the answers, but in terms of the contracts at North, National League South and North, what happens to people like Dorking who've got massive contracts? Are the players paid up? Are they can they be released because they can't fulfil the season? There's so many legal sides of it, and Dorking, of course, are now putting in legal action, which. That when you've got no minutes as to what it's a mess. The lawyers will have a field day with it, and that's not it's not what you want in non-league. It's one of the things that I was worried about when we done points per game last season, that the lawyers would get involved, and it becomes a mess, because what happens is everyone looks after themselves. So I think in the Conference South, I think in the non-league South, I think there was 12 against compared to 9, but the non-league North, National League North. Vote, so it's crazy. You're literally, it's like Turkey's voting for Christmas, the whole thing we keep saying. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is going to do that? So I think there's loads of questions. And I think Dover may get some joy. I just had a message from one of my friends saying that they're not going to be sending loans out, but Dorking could get it released. So there's so much going on there, isn't there?
What does everyone expect? Do you think that there'll be any sort of announcement relating to kind of sport and non-league football tomorrow with the roadmap, or do you think it'll be a bit later in the year?
I was just looking at.
I think we are expecting. I'd be very much expecting to have some sort of announcement regarding to when sort of grassroots can resume, and I think probably in the announcement there'll also be hints at when fans can return, as to whether fans are back, whether we're looking at maybe the final couple of games of this season, or if we're just back to the start of next season. I think we're going to find out a bit more tomorrow. But it's certainly the biggest announcement for the sake of sport in a long, long time, because what is said tomorrow will have huge ramifications across the Football League and very deep into non-league football. Because you have to say, if there's going to be no crowds at all this season, pretty much National League Premier will probably have to fold as well. because they're not going to take the loans no matter what the government say. They can't. They won't. They just can't take the loan. The whole thing's a mess, but it should be a bit clearer in about 24 hours' time, hopefully.
Well, I was just going to say very quickly, Twitter, and I was expecting this because, as you know, we're not a political show, so let's not get down that side of it. But we know that the government like to leak stories before they put things in, and it's very much March 8th schools, March 8th kids outdoor sport. Well, surely we get away with that because we've got a very young team. Like, do we not get away and we can play them? Early April, non-essential retail, outdoor pubs and restaurants, and then cinemas and theatres in May. Let's be fair, outdoors is safer than indoors, isn't it, in terms of that side of it? So, and anyway, I'm all right. I had the first vaccine on Friday, so I can go. I'll be all right. I'm joking, by the way. I'm joking. But yeah, George, do you know, and that's what I was saying to Alex and George as well, is like, if we were lucky enough, and I'm not trying to get too ahead of ourselves, but if, mid-March we can get fans into grounds limited capacity, that could be massive for us, couldn't it? Because we've got so many home games left.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, of our running of the final sort of 20 games that we had before this weekend, we've still got 12 home games left. 5 of those are against teams that make up the rest of the bottom 7. So we've got a lot of very big games at home, very important games at home. And it's not going to be mid-March, let's be realistic. I think best we can hope for is maybe early mid-April. So maybe have 2 or 3 games with some capacity towards the end of the season. But that can make a big difference with so much of our running at home, or with teams that are, we haven't got Sunderland away on the final day, it's Lincoln. So having teams with smaller grounds, which will have, smaller fan bases, and having some fans in at Plough Lane, that could be a massive help for our running.
Oh, Kings Meadow, George, we're not there anymore, mate.
Yeah, I know, that was an awful slip of the tongue.
Look at that slip up.
I haven't called it current Plough Lane yet, so I'm doing reasonably well.
It's called Plough Lane, although there's a few people I know that call it something different. Tom, what do you call it? What are you going to be calling it?
Home.
Hey, that's the answer. That's the answer. Okay, so let's move on. So we've obviously 2 games this week. We've got Gillingham and then we've got Hull at home. Let's go, Pete. Let's go Gillingham first. Got a good result against Bristol Rovers, which I can't understand. Bristol Rovers, I look at that team, I cannot understand how they smashed us 4-2. I've done nothing since. That's just out of order. Tom, what are you thinking? Gillingham, Steve Evans, he likes to play to a crowd. There's no one there. What do you think on Tuesday?
I'd love to see us get one up for points as well, but Gillingham, we had a lot of games against them. They're always quite close, I feel. It's not often that the score line is one way or the other. So I think it will be a close game, especially it's important down the bottom trying to hold on to that. They're 15th at the moment. And I think that gap, we don't want to make it too big, because I remember speaking to Robbo and he said about having that mini league at the bottom that you don't really want to be competing in. You want to be just above that. So, you're safe. And I think it's going to be quite important in deciding that bottom 10 teams.
Yeah, I agree. I always refer it to athletics. If you're on a 1,500 metre race, you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose away from the opening pack. It's that sort of thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You don't really want to be having to run faster and chasing up and stuff. But the problem is, there's so many. Like, we've got 2 games in hands on teams. Swindon got a result on Saturday, which you just think, thank you very much. I think there's going to be loads. Even Northampton have got the side of it. George, what's your thinking for next week? Can we continue? We had a really good first half against Peterborough. I think we can. We know second half we dropped off. But was there enough signs? I know there will be enough signs for you, George, because you're Mr. Positive. But was there enough signs in there that we can continue that through on to Tuesday?
Definitely. I mean, you look at it in Robbo's first league game away at Wigan. I think we all agree we had a good half an hour there, and then hang on for dear life to get to hang in. Then we had a good 45 minutes. So we are getting better for longer periods, under Robbo. So hopefully we'll be able to carry that into Tuesday. We know what we're going to be doing. We know what Steve Evans will do, because sadly we've had to watch it so many times over the last decade and a bit. But it's, the away game, Gillingham didn't impress me. And we played them, in December, was it December time we played the away game? They weren't up to much. We could have won that game, I felt. And I think it's a winnable game Tuesday night. But more importantly, we just have to not lose. If we can pull out of that bottom 4 with the games still having games in hand, that puts us in a very good position and gives everyone around us a bit of a headache.
Yeah, now Marie, yesterday was interesting. It was interesting in terms of Ben Hennigan was on the bench, Oksanen, which we could have an whole discussion. We could have a whole discussion about that. I do not understand why we've got a low knee who's so impressive on the bench. It's not for that. But do you think we've held back some players? I know we lost Shannon to an injury, but do you think we've held back? Ben Hennigan scored a goal against Gillingham. They're tasty in the air, aren't they? A physical side.
I guess it's difficult because it's been so intense, and there might be little injuries that players carrying, or they're not quite at match fitness. There's things that we don't know, and they're not necessarily always going to disclose for tactical reasons. I know Robbo talked a lot about, actually, and Glyn talked about, the fact that the second part of the season, there will probably be quite a lot of rotation of the squad for various reasons, tactical injuries. It confuses me why Oksanen's on the bench, but then equally I don't work with him day in day out. There's obviously reason. There must be a reason why, whether it's match fitness, or whether he's looking at the opposition and thinking we need something slightly different in midfield there. I think in terms of going forwards though, in this week, I think a couple of things George said. I think if we don't lose Tuesday, I think as a minimum, Hull will be lucky, to get anything from it, just because they're such a good side. And their budget's a completely different level to ours. But Tuesday, I think, with Gillingham, I was messaging George about this yesterday. They've surprised me this season. I thought they'd be struggling a lot more. I expect that their manager, knowing the type of personality he is, he's forcing a lot out of those players. I don't expect training's that fun there, and they'll be up for it. And maybe it is a case of we don't want to be too nice on the pitch on Tuesday night. We've just really, really got to go for it and match them, because they're not going to make life easy. And I thought it was really, really good what Alex said about, even though the fans aren't there, we've got to try and find a way of making it a fortress. And the players, I'm sure, they've got the characters to try and, really make it our own and make it life difficult for them on Tuesday, particularly under a Steve Evans team.
I think just quickly to circle back to Shay on, obviously, quite, upsetting scenes almost on Saturday when we saw him getting stretched off. I mean, the good news is it's not, in case anyone missed it, the good news is that it's only a sprain to his ankle. He hasn't fractured it, which is, I think a lot of us feared it had been to his ankle. But it's only a sprain, so hopefully that means we'll be able to see him before the end of the season, because he did look impressive in the 5 minutes that we were able to see him and the 30 seconds he touched the ball.
I don't mean to laugh, sorry George, that's quite funny from you.
Who do people think is going to be, our integral player on Tuesday? Is anyone you think it's, this is their game? Because sometimes you see games, don't you, on the fixture list? Certainly, in our 2016 squad, you could see a game and think, this is Lyle's game, or this is a game for Bayo. At the moment, does anyone think about, getting games coming up this week? There's players who really need to kind of not step up, but, it's there for them for the taking.
Historically, Pig always likes playing against Gillingham. He's got a sort of something in his bonnet about them, and he doesn't really like them as a club. And he said that on our show in the past. And I think Steve Evans will wind him up. So I get a feeling Pigs will be up more than up for it on Tuesday. And then next Saturday, it has to be a team performance. Everyone's got to have a great game next Saturday. We were unlucky to lose up at Hull, but everyone's going to have the game of their lives on Saturday for us to get a win.
Tom, what about you?
I think it'll be an important game for Dobbo and Woody as well, who are on the show. I think if they can kind of stay resilient around the back line, especially against Hull, and stop those attackers getting through, I think that'll be a key way of us setting up. And then against Gillingham, I think Steve Evans will send his team out with strong intentions, and I think if we can give them a little bit back as well, I think that'll be quite important to dictating how we play.
Definitely. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap up there. We do apologise. We didn't have any live chat. For some reason, YouTube doesn't want to allow us to have live chat. So we haven't seen any questions, but we've seen quite healthy viewership, as they say. Tom, thank you very much for joining us. It's been great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Cool. We do apologise that Dave Anderson was drinking, obviously on the job. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't encourage that. Joking. I have to say, Anne-Marie, when he said you must have been about 5, I think he made him feel very old at that point.
I was probably like mid-teens. I don't know. I thought the stress of supporting Wimbledon's aged me. But I'm a big Dave Anderson fangirl. very
Yeah,
lucky to interview you.
I didn't want to tell him this before I started going to football regularly, and that I was.
Yeah, I thought that's why I kept
thought
away
that
from
might have been
George.
too far.
Yeah, but you know what, Dave? I like Dave, and he's always very modest. You know, he did a. You know, I know you were a lot younger than him, but he did a massive job because we weren't professional in the combined counties. We weren't professional. There was no professionalism on it at all. And Dave had a very hard job coming in. He got rid of Kevin Cooper on that sort of side of it, and he brought that professionalism in, which was never going to be easy. And he won't say it, but I think in a way he set it up for Terry Brown because he gave him a canvas that wasn't the combined counties, which, trust me, was fun, but wasn't professional in any stretch of that side of it. So yeah, you know what, I'm pleased. You know, Dave will get emotional because his hard work, you know, is a result of that, and all our hard work is that as well, isn't it? On that side. So yeah, George, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And Anne-Marie, as always, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah,
let's hope we. Sorry.
I was going to say a fantastic debut for Tom, and hopefully, yeah, he joins us again on other Sundays after a victory.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you come out of it. Yeah, it's always. But you know what? Just very quickly, actually, I didn't say that, but I thought they were very pragmatic about it. You know, and they were able to analyse, and that's the thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think we could all see things that were taking shape, but as Robbo said, it's not going to happen straight away. We might see 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, that sort of side of it. But yeah, it's good. It's good to have him on board. And like I say, we'll have a player on each week, a couple of players if we can push our luck with Robbo, who's been very kind on that side. So yeah, good week ahead. I can't wait. I must admit, Tuesday, Saturday, I can't wait for the games to come thick and fast. Hopefully, Hull get a few injuries in a week. Joking. And let's hope his roadmap coming out of COVID will be. And like I say, I'll be first in because I'm the oldest and I'll have the jab. So sorry about you lot. I won't be. I promise I won't be. Cool. Okay, that's us done now. Like I say, this will be available on demand, and we will see you next Sunday.